Welcome to the Gateless Podcast. I'm really glad that you're here. I'm your host, Kara Carews. This is where you'll find conversations with self-made women who share their playbooks, their tips, their actual experiences on the journey to success. I also chat with experts and practitioners of mindset, stress, productivity, emotional, and mental health, because if you're listening to this, you're somebody that bets boldly on yourself and you care about optimizing how you feel, perform, give back, love, and just move through the world. This podcast is here to help you become the absolute most incredible version of yourself in life and in business. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your feedback and reviews. The only way that we grow right now is from you sharing your favorite episodes with your family and friends on social media. So thank you for doing that. Go do that big, cool thing that you've been dreaming about today.
In this episode, Kara chats with Angie McPherson as she shares her journey from the world of corporate to entrepreneurship. I did a mastermind with Angie about a year ago, and she is just the most incredible, talented, and kind human. And this is such a great conversation. Angie's career path, which started in marketing and PR, took a unique turn towards branding photography, where she combined her photography skills with her marketing know-how to help creative entrepreneurs boost their online presence. Please enjoy this episode of the Gateless Podcast.
I'm so glad to meet you. I know that you know Haley, but it's
Yeah, it
really
was so good to meet you
wonderful
too.
to be talking with you this morning.
Yeah.
And what I would love to do just to kick it off is for you to give the audience a little bit of background on you, what you've been up to and what you're working on now, like a little bit of your journey to how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, hello. Well, yes, let's dive right in. And thanks so much for having me. This is going to be so fun. And I just love talking all things business and branding and all that. I am Angie McPherson. I am a branding photographer, a marketing strategist, and I call myself a hype woman for creative entrepreneurs. And I have been a photographer for 11 years. I actually started out as a wedding photographer and pivoted my business. And the deeper I get into entrepreneurship, I keep remembering entrepreneurship is not linear. There's so many different directions that we can go with entrepreneurship. So I started as a wedding and portrait photographer, and then I pivoted into branding photography because my background before I even went into weddings was marketing and PR. I was working for a decade here in my local community at concert venues and radio stations and tours and boards in the marketing and PR department. And so as I was building my wedding photography business, I just wanted to bring back in that marketing aspect of my business. And I started posting like headshots of me, lifestyle photos of me before branding photography was even a thing. And people were asking me, Angie, how can I get those photos for my business? Like people that I was working at weddings with, hairstylists, makeup artists, caterers, they're like, I want those types of photos that you're showcasing because I'm starting to see you as a personal brand, not just as someone who takes pictures, but I see the person behind the camera. And so I was like, oh, light bulb, like this is how I marry my marketing and PR background with my photography passion. And I like pivoted into branding photography. And so now I'm literally helping other entrepreneurs market their business with my photography skills. So it was like the best of both worlds. I love what I do. And then I pivoted into more education and helping other photographers pivot into branding photography. And then I launched a podcast. So it's just like this whole 11-year journey of, I'm an Enneagram 3. Do you know your Enneagram number?
I have not done the Enneagram in a while, but so funny that you asked. A really interesting gal is going to come on the podcast in a couple
Oh my
of weeks and
gosh.
talk about Enneagram. Like she has a whole business called the Enneagram University. And
Oh, I cannot wait for that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm in textbook Enneagram 3, which is like the achiever, results oriented. And I'm just like, all right, what can I do next? What can I do next?
Yeah.
So that's where I am now. I'm shooting brands, I'm educating other photographers, and I have a weekly podcast.
So were you working in corporate in marketing and PR before starting your own business?
Yes,
What was that? Yeah. What was that like?
It was fun. I love marketing PR. Before I graduated, it was like my dream. My dream was to be Drake's publicist. I would have loved to do PR for Drake. So I worked at concert venues. I was like, all right, how can I get close to him? Let's just go to a concert venue. So I was the marketing manager at a local concert venue. It was actually an entertainment venue. So not just concerts, but the circus, monster trucks, big events, things like that. And I loved it, but I was working 40, 50, 60 hours a week because I was working the 9 to 5 plus the actual events on the weekends, like the very long events. And as a marketing person, it was like, I had to be on the phone, on the computer, just constantly in touch with everyone. And I really wanted to have a little bit more freedom in my life. And I wanted to pick up a passion project. Like I said, Enneagram 3. I'm always like, what can I do on the side? What can I do? And so I got into photography and I started to put myself out there as a photographer, build my portfolio. I would shoot on the evenings and the weekends. And I remember charging $50 for my very first photo shoot. It was a senior session. It took like an hour and I made $50. And I was like, wow, I just made more in this 1 hour that I made in my career working an hour. And it was fun and it was good to meet people. And so I started actually building that part of my life, that business. And then I just started kind of butting heads with the job, like the job, the 9 to 5 corporate world versus the business. And I had a baby and I was like, there's just too much going on. And
Mhm.
I wonder what my 5, 10, 30-year plan looks like. Is it going up the corporate ladder? What do I want to do? Be the VP of the Staples Center? Or back then it was a Staples Center. Now it's something else in LA. But I was like, or do I want to have more control and freedom in my life and just build something here that's completely customizable, that I can make more money, reach more people, have more quality time with my family. And so I told myself I was going to save up 6 months of income expenses. And I was going to make sure that I think I told myself 20 or 25 weddings on the books for the next 12 to 18 months. I was like, if I hit those goals, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to quit my job. It's very scary. I've never been the one, like, I will have these bright ideas, but I'm not a big risk taker, especially when it
Mhm.
comes to finances. And so the fact that I even said, I'm going to quit my cushy job with insurance and all that and an actual path up the ladder was wild to me. That's how I knew that I really, really wanted to pursue photography if I was even considering it. And I did it. I hit those goals. I had money in the bank. I had weddings on the books. And I remember putting in my notice and having that first day of work at home. Usually I was working during my lunch hour or at 5 o'clock in the morning before work or at 10 o'clock at night after my kid went down. And I had a full day at my computer. And I was like, this is the life. This is the life. I was like, I can edit, I can post on social media, I can go to the gym, I can meet with clients. Just the world of opportunities opened up when I gave myself that freedom to work on myself, to work on my own business and not someone else's business. And I've never looked back. I never, ever want to go back to 9 to 5.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So, did you have mentors that were helping you figure out the framework of like, okay, here's what I need to do to be able to quit, and here's how you build up your business while you're still doing your 9 to 5?
Yeah.
Because I think that that's a really overwhelming thing. Like, regardless of what you want to go pivot into away from your
Hmm.
corporate job into entrepreneurship, I think it can be overwhelming to figure out like what steps might I need to take to be able to successfully do that, you know?
For sure. I'm a big proponent of investing in education, courses, memberships, mentors. From the jump, I bought my camera. I think I bought it on Valentine's Day. I bought my camera and I said, I want to be a photographer. And the first thing I did was go to YouTube and find videos of how to use the camera and manual, how to pose, how to do lighting. And Jasmine Star would pop up, Caitlin James would pop up. And I was like, okay, I just need to watch every single thing they are doing and figure out how to use this camera, how to share my work on social media, how to connect with other people. I just feel like when people say, how did you get started? I'm just like, I just learned. I just spent hours and hours of learning. I bought courses, I joined memberships, I went to in-person workshops.
Mhm.
I did so much in those first few years. I mean, even now, 11 years into this business, I'm still investing in education. Like, don't get me on a webinar because I will buy it. If I'm on a 60-minute webinar and someone has made something look really good and there's I'm like, all right, where do I pay? Because I know every bit of investing in education and bettering yourself is going to pay off. I know that it can be scary to invest in yourself, but it's like you pay to play. Once you like you can go to YouTube. There's plenty of information on YouTube. But once you pay, even if it's like a $7 template, once you pay, it's like you are giving yourself the green light to just go all in. And
Mhm.
so I'm always down for investing in myself. I was in Jasmine Star's mastermind last year, the biggest investment of my entire business. And it was a hairy, scary time. You don't even want to hear the conversations between my husband and I talking about this investment for her mastermind. But I just knew as soon as I paid and got on that payment plan for 6 months, I was like, I know I'm going to show up. I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to be in a different mindset. And that is just the same thing I was doing in year 1 is what I'm doing in year 11 is finding these golden opportunities where people before you can take you on the path, pour into your business, teach you different things. And it always pays off, but it only pays off if you show up. So many people will buy a course, buy a template, go to a workshop, and they'll consume it and don't do anything with it. You have to take inspired action. You have to take inspired action and implement the things that you are learning, that you've invested in, because it's going to take you so far. So that's definitely what I did. I picked up a camera. I went to YouTube. I bought courses. I joined memberships. I went to workshops, and I just perfected my craft and in different parts of my business as well, like how to, like my website. That was a big investment because I'm a photographer. I needed to have a space to show visually what I was doing. I had to invest in that. I invested in courses on how to do SEO and how to do metadata and alt text and all of those things and what good design looks like. So constantly just investing in myself.
You just said so many good things. You're the definition of a self-made woman, which I love around here because when you want something, and I know
Mhm.
Jasmine talks about this a lot, but when you want something, if you want to be comfortable more than you
Mhm.
want your business or want to
Mm.
create something beautiful, then it's not going to work. But if
Right.
you are willing to put in the work to learn, there's so
Yes.
much information out there. You can find the information, especially if you're somebody like you who sees the opportunity in speaking with people who have done it before you,
Right.
getting what you can learn from them, investing in yourself, paying to learn, paying to be
Yep.
part of masterminds, paying to be part of an opportunity to grow your skill set and
Mhm.
unlock like your potential, then if you're committed to that, nothing like you can be unstoppable. I am
I know.
so into the idea of like it's really not that complicated. It's just about if you're willing
Yeah.
to put in the time, absorb the information, go find the information, try
Yep.
it, fail a little bit, iterate, try again, fail a little bit.
Exactly.
And you said that it's about not just taking in all the information, but actually taking inspired action. What
Right.
is I know I've heard the term inspired action, but can you talk a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, it's taking what you are learning and then really implementing in your business how it would work best for you. So I have done programs that are completely different than how I would show up. And I take pieces from it and I'm like, okay, this doesn't really resonate with how I show up or what my audience likes or what I want to be known for. But these little pieces, let me piece these together. It's like you take the inspiration from what you're learning and customize it to your own business, to your own goals and take action. For example, and this goes with my Enneagram 3 thing. I love to watch cartoons, watch animated things, or listen to ads. I love voiceover stuff.
Mhm.
And have you ever done Masterclass? You know that
Yeah.
website Masterclass where all
Yeah,
the
yeah, I
celebrities?
love masterclass.
Yeah, I watched a masterclass on the plane last year, and it was with the woman who voices Bart Simpson. And for some reason at the end, I was like, I wanna take a voiceover class. I had no, like, inclination of, like, "Oh, I ever wanna do this," but after seeing that, I was so inspired by this random masterclass of cartoon voiceover work, and I was so inspired. I got home, I Googled voiceover class in Hampton Roads, which is where I live, and there is a voiceover class in Virginia Beach, and I signed up, and I did 8 classes, and I had bought my podcast equipment 6 years ago, and it has been sitting in my closet for
Whoa.
6 years. I told myself I was gonna do a podcast 6 years ago, and I was just sitting on it. By, like, class 3 of this voiceover class, I was like, "I'm gonna start my podcast." I was so inspired by, like,
Cool.
working with the microphone, talking to producers, getting more confident with my voice. And I didn't go into that class wanting to do anything with my business. I was like, I just want to do something fun. I mean, picture me 11 years ago. I just want to pick up a camera, do something fun. Now I'm like, I want to try voiceover work and see if there's anything there. And it inspired me to take a lot of those tips and tricks to put them in my own business. And finally, 6 years later, launched my podcast. And now I feel like I have taken that inspiration and things I've learned. They do a lot of commercial work, advertising work. And so now if I ever get sponsors on my podcast, I'm going to feel like a freaking pro because that's what I was doing is recording like 30-second ads at this voiceover school. So finding these different ways to learn, to apply to your personal life, to your business, and to put out there. And now my podcast, I'm getting amazing guests on it and people are loving it and they're enrolling in my programs or booking me for branding photo shoots or asking me to be on their podcast. I'm like, if I never took that voiceover class and put a fire under my butt to take inspiration and take action, probably wouldn't have even launched the podcast anytime soon. I probably would have still been sitting in fear a little bit. So that's just one example of how I personally have taken inspired action. But I just think that the more that I don't want to say the more that you consume, but the more that you consume the right things,
Mhm.
like things that are really in alignment with you. Just another quick example, I started reading Atomic Habits. Have you read that?
Mhm. Yes.
I listened to it. I don't read books. I listen to this. I started listening to it and it inspired me to have more of a routine in my morning routine, and more of a routine in my health and fitness, and even trickling down to my parenting and having my kids have habits in their life. And so once again, taking that inspired action, I could have easily listened to that book and then turned it off and went about my day. But in taking inspired action is like every chapter, I'm writing notes. How does this apply
Yeah.
to a specific part of my life? Let me make some tweaks and move on to the next chapter. That's inspired action.
It almost sounds like it's about the motivation in which
Mm,
you take to actually list. Like, why would you even consume content? Why would you
right.
even try to learn
Yeah.
and new things if you weren't going to do anything with them? That just sounds like a
Hmm.
waste of time, you know?
Yeah.
So if you're approaching new concepts or learning new things with an inspired action as a motivation,
Right.
then that's going to propel the action forward. That makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, to summarize, walk me through the summary of what those steps were. When
Mm,
you picked up that camera, you
yep.
decided that you were good at it, you liked it, and you made more money than you were making in your corporate job.
Yep.
Like, what were just summarizing the steps from there
Yeah.
to get to where you are now?
For sure. Picked up the camera, learned everything about the camera, learned about running an actual business, which was foreign to me as someone from the corporate world, and really immersing myself in a community. That was a huge part. There was a local Facebook group for photographers, there still is, and I joined it and I was like, "Hey, let's meet up and have dinner and go to Mexican and shoot headshots after." I immersed myself in this community, and if I did not have that community, I probably wouldn't even be here because I have so many of friends that I met there, and we refer each other to clients, and we talk all day on Boxer, and we're inspiring each other and sharing with each other. And I feel like the steps I took was it was all about me at first: pick up a camera, learn, invest, and then it became more about the community and how can I help other people? How can I help my clients? And it became this big thing where every day was how do I show up in a way that will help grow my business. Because if you're not growing, you're going backwards at this
Yeah.
point. I mean, in this day and age, 2024, if you're not growing, you got to start thinking about what you can be doing. Because with a corporate, with a 9 to 5 job, hopefully that's what you're doing. You're growing. You are going to seminars and learning and getting performance reviews and all of that. When you're an entrepreneur, it is just you. Okay. There's
Yeah.
nobody reviewing your performance. There's no one that's going to give you a raise. You have to give yourself a raise. So I had to rewire my brain and be my own boss and also just be the best boss ever. I've had a million bosses, most of them were horrible.
Mhm.
And so I had to rewire my brain to not treat myself like my previous bosses treated me. My previous bosses wanted me to work 67 hours a week. They wanted me to be on my phone and my email out of office hours. I had to rewire my brain to say, this is why you actually pursued this entrepreneurial life to get away from that. So don't treat yourself like an employee. Treat yourself like the CEO of your business. And so that's the step that continues to evolve with me. It's constantly making sure I'm staying the CEO, CFO, all that and pushing my business forward every year.
I feel like that would be a very tricky thing to get comfortable with coming from corporate into
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. The concept of being your own boss
Mm-hmm.
sounds really great, but there is a lot of comfort, especially for people who've built most of their career in corporate,
Yeah.
of knowing what like the lanes are and knowing
Right.
what expectations are and knowing what the objective is at any given day, right? Because you're kind of being
Right.
told what to do in
Yeah.
most corporate jobs. How I feel like I already know what you're going to say. I'm sure you Googled it and looked it up and taught yourself, but what types of learnings did you have early on as
Mhm.
you transitioned into it? You were the one woman show and you
Right.
were your own boss and you were becoming this self made woman
Mhm.
who was building what is now a thriving photography business, but
Mm,
I'm curious, what was happening for you in your head at the very
yeah.
beginning? Did you have moments of doubt? Were you just totally thrilled the whole time because you had total runway to do whatever you wanted with it? Just
Yeah.
take us back to those early days.
For sure. I definitely had doubt at the beginning when I was trying to hit those specific goals to get me to be
Yeah.
full time. But the best part about it was that I still had a 9 to 5. So I was like, okay, I've got a consultation with this bride. If she books me, that's amazing. That's great. I have another client, but I also am one step closer to quitting this job. And so if the bride didn't book, yes, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't think I can do this," but I was also like, "You know what? I'll try again." I have a
Mhm.
steady paycheck coming in every 2 weeks. I'm not gonna go broke trying to do this goal, you know? I didn't just take the leap and say, "I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna figure it out along the way." I had a backup. Even now, 11 years later, I know if something ever happens and if I need to go back to work, which I don't want to, I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be able to find something. So I try to combat that doubt with this isn't the end of the world if something doesn't work out. If this person doesn't book, or if it takes me back in the day, if it takes me 8 months instead of 6 months to go full time. Of course, I had those doubts, but I just knew I have to think about the possibilities and the opportunities instead of what's the worst that can happen? What if this doesn't happen? I have to think what's the best that can happen? And more importantly, how do I make this happen? Because so many people will
Yeah.
just hope and
Yep.
say, okay, here are my goals for 2024. I'm going to make this much money. I'm going to book this many clients. Let's rock and roll. And there are two types of people who just hope for it. And people are like, I'm going to make this because this is exactly the plan that I have. It all is in the plan. You have to make a plan. That was my plan back in the day. I need to have 6 months of expenses. I need to have 20 weddings over the next 18 months. And I know for sure, just ones and zeros, I will be okay. If I follow this plan, if I hit those goals, I will be okay. And if not, the plan might be extended. Like the goals didn't
Yeah.
change, just the plan might be changed. And so that was my mindset. It was slowly but surely I was getting there. I was hitting some doubtful moments, but I was also like, it's okay because I know that I'm not going to give up. Like the way that you lose is if you give up. That's the way that you lose. If you keep going, you're going to win eventually because you're not going to stop until you win. And so that was definitely my mindset back in the day and still to this day.
You phrase that in a really nice way. Like, it's not that your goals change, your
Mhm.
timelines might just have to change
Right.
depending on how
Mhm.
things are going. You could be committed to the goal and you could be committed to the inputs and how you're making it happen, but being a little less tied to what is the time frame in which this is going to
Right.
happen? Because that's what's so unknown. And I think can feel really overwhelming to people. Like, oh, I have to make this happen in 6 months. Well, it might
Mhm.
take 18 months, and that's okay
Right.
too. Because on the other side of 18 months, you're going to be really happy you did it and stayed
Right.
committed.
Yeah. For sure.
That
For sure.
that makes sense. So I heard you speak on how you had that aha moment of, wait, I want to help people build their personal brand through
Mhm.
photography
Yeah.
and the importance of maybe, I don't want to put your words in your mouth, but I am curious to hear from you how you felt a little bit more energy, enthusiasm for personal brand photography
Mhm.
over maybe wedding photography or the things that you were doing right at the beginning. And just speak a little bit on the power of having a personal brand. And it
Yeah.
goes obviously beyond just like capturing through photography what your personal
Mhm.
brand is, but that is a really great start. It's sort of like you're showcasing to the world, here's who I am. It's
Right.
like a first step, you know?
Yeah. I love personal branding. I love personal branding photography because I just love entrepreneurship. I feel like even when I was doing weddings for 6, 7 years, I loved my brides. I love my clients, but my gosh, I just love running a business. I love finding ways to grow my business, to reach more people, to bring in more revenue into my household. And so when I started to see how me showing up as a personal brand was doing those things, because I was a wedding photographer, which is a very oversaturated market, just like many other markets are. But I was looking on social media at the time and everyone was posting photos of flowers and their couples and rings. And here I am. I'm like, all right, I'm going to show me holding my camera. I'm going to show me on the dance floor at a wedding. I'm going to show me posing my bride and groom. I'm going to show me on vacation. And I just saw how my business, like my brand completely just transformed once I did that. And so the fact that I could use my photography skills to help other entrepreneurs do the same thing, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to be doing because I love marketing and growing a brand and a business. I love personal branding. I love helping other people. Like this is so like I love my brides, but like this is so much more rewarding helping other female entrepreneurs put themselves out there. Most of my clients have never had branding photos taken. They might have had like a headshot they've taken, but they've never like really dived into their business, their brand, looked at their ideal client, created a plan, had a full gallery of lifestyle photos, headshots, behind the scenes photos, and just to see the way they transform their website, transform their social media, and how empowered they are to now speak about themselves. I feel like so
Yeah,
many people struggle with just talking about their brand because they don't have anything to go with it. They don't
that's
have
so
any like
true.
visuals. And so they feel like they're just like speaking so loud and they're just like, oh, I've got nothing to really show for this. And so when I deliver a gallery, I'm just like, oh, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see how they use this because I've had clients launch podcasts with new branding photos for the cover art. I've had them launch social media. I've had them launch courses and on their sales page, instead of just stock photos of things about their course, it's actually them. People
Mhm.
really resonate with that. So I think personal branding is so important. It's so important in the marketing aspect because every market is oversaturated. And that's fine because the one differentiator that we all have is our uniqueness.
Mhm.
And I think personal branding is the one way to really show your uniqueness. There's so many other photographers or health and fitness experts or influencers or lawyers or whoever. I'm just thinking about like my clients. There's so many of those people out there. But the way that you get your dream clients is positioning yourself as this personal brand that people can really connect with and can really see themselves working with. Because if you're just hiding behind a logo or your products or even your clients, and I'm speaking
Mhm.
directly to photographers, they hide behind their clients. You're not putting yourself out there. I think, honestly, my social media, you see more of me than my actual clients. Like
Great.
I'll post them when I do like a new shoot. I'm like, hey, this is my client, this is her job. But I like they know my work, they see my work, but I also want to make sure that I'm putting myself out there so they can see themselves working with me and investing in themselves through my experience. So I'm always a proponent of building your personal brand and really connecting with your audience.
I've been hearing more and more lately that consumers today are not as interested in just following along with a brand or buying
Yeah.
into a brand. They really want to understand the creator behind the brand. And that's what's
Mhm.
intriguing. And that's what makes them want to invest their money and be
Right.
connected to that brand. So it makes a ton of sense. I also really like the way you put a wrapper around that. Like, the branding pictures can be the
Yeah.
first step to help you talk about your
Yes.
personal brand because everyone has a
Mhm.
story and you know what you have to offer, but if
Right.
you can't digitize that reputation and show
Mhm.
people a way to visualize it, it can be really hard to know where to start. Like,
Right.
here's who I am. I don't know. It's a little bit more overwhelming than if you have a photo album to
Right.
showcase who you are.
Exactly. Exactly. It
That
definitely
makes a lot of
empowers
sense.
you to show up more because some of my clients before working together, they'll say like, "Well, I haven't been really consistent on social media because I have nothing to post." And I'm like, "Okay, here's a full gallery of you. Now you have
Yeah.
no excuse."
Yeah. 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 I went through my first branding photo shoot when
Yeah.
I started this podcast
Uh-huh.
in
Uh-huh. How was that?
August-ish, and I was so uncomfortable because I had never done anything like that before,
Mhm.
but we took the first round of pictures, and then I booked another one. And so the
Yeah.
first round was me and Haley, and that made it more
Uh-huh.
comfortable because it like,
You
we were
had
just
her.
taking off.
Yeah.
And then I realized, just as what you're describing, I realized, "Oh, wait, I feel like this picture embodies who I feel like I am, and it makes me
Mhm.
feel like I could talk about it. Okay, I wanna do another set because I don't feel like I captured these other parts of me." Um,
Uh-huh. I love
so
it.
I love it. I mean,
Mhm.
I think it's really great, and it is validating to yourself that the way that you're portrayed, even through photography, is the same way that you feel inside, which is really cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
Tell me about the podcast. What do you mostly focus on in your podcast platform?
Yeah, my podcast, oh man, I think the reason why I waited for so long to do it is because I knew what I wanted to talk about, which is marketing, branding, productivity, running a business, but I didn't know the format because I'm such a big, like, I love entertainment. I'm just like, I want to make sure that when people are listening to my podcast, my goal is to, first of all, help people and let it be very valuable, but I need to get a laugh. I want people to like find enjoyment and entertainment in my podcast. And so it's called The Angie McPherson Show. I was like, I don't want to go back and forth with coming up with a name. Let me just continue to build my personal brand and brand it after myself.
Mhm.
And most of the episodes are with guests, and it's usually people that I have some sort of relationship because I want the vibes to just be like you are just hearing two friends at a coffee shop and you're like just immersing yourself in the conversation. Like we just invited you over to chat. And I play a game with each of my guests at the end of every episode. So that's been really fun. And I just feel like we just shoot the breeze. Are you on Boxer? Do you talk on Boxer?
I'm not I know what it is. A few people
Yeah.
have brought it up to me recently. I'm not on it. Should I be?
Oh, yes. Especially you and Haley, for sure. I feel like my podcast is like a Voxer conversation. It's just two business girls going back and forth, talking about funny stories and pulling the layers back on unfiltered entrepreneurship. And I think it's a good time. And I do have some solo episodes that are more I don't want it to feel like every episode is something you have to take notes in it, have it be a
Yeah,
master
yeah.
class. I want it to feel like you're just in the conversation. So my solo episodes are more of that. Like, all right, now let me sit down, let me teach you something A to Z, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting a lot of good conversations and you're getting a lot of like strategy.
Cool. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So
Where can everyone follow you and follow along on your journey and even work with
yeah.
you if they're near your area?
Yeah, for sure. I'm in Virginia, but I travel all over. And my website is angiemcpherson.com. And then my Instagram is Angie Janine. So Angie and then Janine is spelled Janine. That's my Instagram.
Amazing. Okay, so will you leave us with your best anti-gatekeeping advice for
Ooh.
anyone, maybe not even specific to individuals or women that want to build a photography business, but just
Mhm.
want to make the pivot that you made from corporate to entrepreneurship?
Okay, anti-gatekeeping from corporate to entrepreneurship. I would say, I mean, I feel like this is obvious of what I'm talking about is actually creating a plan,
Mhm.
like creating a plan, creating a strategy. But I do want to say relationship marketing, relationship building is a huge way to move forward and to accomplish goals because yes, you have a plan, but along the way, like I said, pour into that community. I had my plan that I was doing like on my own, but I was going to in-person networking events. I was connecting with people on social media. I was reaching out to mentors like Jasmine and Caitlin and asking for one-on-one help. Really pour into your community. And remember, entrepreneurship can definitely seem like a lonely journey, but there are people out there who want to help you. They want to help you succeed. It is a part of their life's work, a part of their passion. So yes, have a plan, but also simultaneously connect. Connect with who you aspire to work with. So if you are looking to book more clients in whatever field you're working in, start connecting with those clients. Join Facebook groups where those clients are. Click on hashtags, send them DMs, just connect. If you are wanting to do something more local, start getting out into community, putting your feet on pavement, talking to different people in different businesses. So just as you're working on your plan that you set for yourself, whether you're trying to leave a job and go full time with entrepreneurship, your plan could be making a specific amount of money, booking a specific amount of clients. Don't forget to put yourself out there and just network and connect. And it's not always going to be, hey, can you help me? But what can you do for these other people? That is what you should be doing first is providing some sort of value.
Give to
How can
get.
I help you? How can I put the word out there about what you're doing? How can I mean, I did so many things in the beginning, especially as a photographer. My thing is I have a camera, so I can help everybody in any situation. So how can you in your field help people? So for example, for me, when I was getting out there networking, I would go to the local coffee shop with my camera and say, "Hey, I would love to use this space for a photo shoot. Do you mind if I maybe just gift you some photos? Can I take some photos while I'm here of your space, maybe some headshots of you, maybe your products up here. I'll send you the gallery." And like, starting that relationship. How can you
Very
leverage
smart.
your expertise, your tools, your skills to help other people? Because once you do that, they are going to be looking for ways to help you. So my biggest anti-gatekeeping advice is just build relationships and
Yeah.
help other people and you will see that pay off tenfold.
Build relationships and give to get. I really like
Give.
that.
I love
It's
that. Give to
smart
get.
and you have to do it. Like give
Yeah.
what you have to offer and it will come
Mhm.
back around and it will help you in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time. This was very informative and I have a
Yay.
page full of notes from you dropping
Thanks for
those
having
knowledge.
me.
But yeah, thank you so much for giving us some time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Are you somebody that loves to listen to podcasts, learn, and consume knowledge in general, but maybe you find the process of picking those episodes that are really value-packed and worth your time challenging? Am I right? You're busy. I get it. If that's the case, the Pod Squad is for you. Every Tuesday, Haley and I are dropping in your inbox the absolute best listens for personal development and business podcasts for the week. We will even give you the Cliff Notes version so that you can still apply the takeaways and consume the knowledge quickly, even if you don't have time to listen to them all. To get the rec sent to you, just go to getgateless.com/subscribe or click the link in the show notes and enter your email address, and that's all you have to do. You will look forward to this every single week, and it will just be your listening cue until the following Tuesday. I hope you enjoy.